Lie Till You Die, inside the trial of former Mayor Misty Roberts. A Louisiana courtroom sits still. A witness adjusts herself in the chair. She's not a stranger. She's not a political rival. She identifies herself as the defendant's lifelong best friend. The prosecutor asks about a text message she sent after a chaotic night in July 2024. Her answer is direct. "I told him to lie till you die." Those 5 words now sit at the center of a criminal trial involving a former mayor, a 16-year-old boy, and allegations that shook a small Louisiana city. Welcome to Unveiled Truth, Crime Tales, where we break down real courtroom testimony and verified legal developments without sensationalism. If you value responsible true crime reporting, subscribe and turn on notifications. Let's step inside this case. The case centers on Misty Roberts, the former mayor of DeRidder. In August 2024, Roberts was arrested. Days before turning herself in, she resigned from her position as mayor. The arrest followed allegations that she engaged in sexual conduct with a 16-year-old boy, described in court as her son's friend. Initially, Roberts was charged with third-degree rape, contributing to the delinquency of juveniles. However, those charges were later thrown out, resulting in a mistrial. But the case did not end there. Earlier this year, she was re-indicted and arraigned on new charges: carnal knowledge of a juvenile, indecent behavior with a juvenile. And now, the trial has resumed in Beauregard Parish. According to testimony presented in court, everything traces back to a party in July 2024. On the witness stand Saturday was Jill Weaver, who described herself as Roberts' lifelong best friend. Weaver testified that she received a phone call that night saying Roberts was upset and yelling. Concerned, she drove to Roberts' home. When she arrived, she described what she saw as chaos. Roberts, she said, was ranting and raving. She was arguing with her teenage son. The courtroom leaned in as Weaver recounted what the argument was about. She became emotional. According to testimony reported by local outlets, Roberts' son was accusing his mother of having sex with his friend. He was saying Roberts effed his best friend. Weaver testified. That whole night was a lot. It was chaos. The allegation wasn't coming from investigators at that moment. It was coming from inside the home, from a teenage son. After that night, Weaver testified she sent a text message to her own son, who is Roberts' nephew. In that message, she instructed him to lie till you die if questioned about what happened. That phrase is now part of the official court record. The prosecution is likely presenting it as evidence suggesting awareness of wrongdoing, or at minimum, an attempt to prevent the spread of damaging information. The defense may argue context, tone, emotion, but jurors heard the words plainly: lie till you die. And in a criminal trial, intent matters. Was it panic, protection, or something more deliberate? The jury must weigh that. The courtroom grew even quieter when Roberts' ex-husband, Duncan Clanton, took the stand. According to reports from KPLC, The Advocate, and the American Press, Clanton testified that the day after the alleged incident, Roberts confessed to him that she had sex with a teen. He further testified that the children had caught them. If believed, that testimony is significant. Clanton also told jurors that Roberts allegedly asked him to contact the alleged victim's parents. Later, he testified she urged him to deny the allegations if asked about them. Defense attorneys will have the opportunity, and likely already have, to challenge credibility, motive, and context. In trials involving former spouses, jurors often consider potential bias. But sworn testimony, once entered into the record, becomes evidence to be evaluated. Jurors previously heard testimony that a DoorDash driver delivered Plan B emergency contraception to Roberts' home after the party. That detail, previously reported by People, adds another layer to the prosecution's narrative timeline. The timing of that delivery may be used to support their version of events. Again, it is up to the jury to determine how much weight to give that information and whether it connects directly to the allegations. In cases like this, digital receipts, timestamps, and delivery records can become key pieces of circumstantial evidence. It's important to understand what the current charges mean. Carnal knowledge of a juvenile in Louisiana law typically refers to sexual conduct between an adult and a minor above a certain age, but below legal adulthood. Indecent behavior with a juvenile involves inappropriate sexual conduct or exposure involving a minor. The prior mistrial and dismissed charges show that this case has already encountered legal complexity. Re-indictment indicates prosecutors believe they have sufficient grounds to move forward again. Roberts remains presumed innocent unless proven guilty. That principle is foundational. The burden rests entirely on the prosecution. When allegations involve a public official, especially a mayor, the impact extends beyond the individuals in the room. Residents of DeRidder once entrusted Roberts with leadership. Now, that trust is being examined in a criminal courtroom. Cases involving adults and minors also bring forward difficult discussions about boundaries, responsibility, and power dynamics. But courtrooms do not operate on outrage. They operate on evidence. And that evidence is now being presented, challenged, and dissected before a jury. The trial is ongoing this week in Beauregard Parish. Witness testimony continues. Cross-examinations are underway. Jurors will ultimately determine whether the prosecution has proven its case beyond a reasonable doubt, whether testimony is credible, whether evidence supports the charges. Until that verdict is reached, the outcome remains undecided. A chaotic night, teenage accusations, a best friend's text message, an ex-husband's testimony, and a former mayor sitting at the defense table. At Unveiled Truth, Crime Tales, we follow the courtroom, not the rumors. If you appreciate in-depth, fact-based true crime coverage, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an update as this case continues. Because in the justice system, truth isn't assumed, it's tested. Until next time, stay informed.